if you were to walk into some of these highly traditional homes and you were to see these families that, you know, the grandparents that have this business that they've been working together for 50 years, and then their daughter comes in and she has her undergraduate degree and she has her boyfriend who she's been dating and who she's going to marry. Like, that is not what most people think of as trad. But I promise you, okay, it is absolutely a dynamic that exists in the homes of millions of families like across the United States. It's a very common dynamic. And I kind of wonder like why that flavor and reason for why women go out and try to be successful is never really discussed, right? That a real reason behind why that is the case is because your family comes from poverty, or because your family like has a background, and because you've been pushed and trained your entire life to work really well for the honor of your family and for the well-being of your community.
Yeah.
I think there's also another aspect to that even wealthier or middle class families, the propaganda since the 60s, since the creation of women's studies departments, has been, and this was me, right? I was born in 1980, so all my life growing up, all I heard was, you've got to have a college education, you've got to have a career, you have to have your own money, because if you don't, you'll be abused. Now, nobody ever told me all the things that could go wrong with the Boss Babe plan. Nobody ever talks about, what if you go to all this college and you sink all this time and money into a degree and you find out that you don't actually love the field that you chose, or maybe you become a surgeon and you break your hand or you get arthritis and you can no longer, work, and you've got all this college debt and you're in your 30s and now your time frame for getting married and having kids is gone, right? Nobody ever warns you about, they'll tell you all the things that could go wrong if you decide to get married and have kids and stay home, but they never tell you that there's risks to being a boss babe as well, right? And it's because the propaganda is so strong. You can't name a single pop star, movie star, female influencer who isn't telling you to be a sexually liberated, independent boss babe. That's every major pop star, every major movie star, Oprah Winfrey. The last 40 years, that's all there is to choose from.
Floor's open, ladies. Go ahead, Kat.
I just wanted to say, like, there's more options than be a boss babe or a trad wife. Like, a lot of immigrant families, like, I'm half Persian, they all have PhDs, doctorates, everything. All men, women, they all do that, but they have a completely different setup. The family takes care of the kids. The parents stay in the house and they take care of all the grandchildren, and all the families live close by, and then the kids that are working age go and work, and they can do that. You cannot tell an American who's told to go out there and make it on their own, to move to another city far away from family and friends, to go out there and do two things. You can't do it. If you don't have full-time childcare, you're screwed, because most women make exactly the same amount as the childcare costs now.
That is so true. That is so true. Childcare is so expensive.
May I ask you about that though? Like, on that note, just like in defense of the American families, okay? Like, I remember. So, did your family use nannies? Like, do you have nannies? Like, do you have childcare? Like, in your family, you don't have childcare. Okay.
I'm not talking about me personally either. I'm talking about like my one side of the family.
I gotcha. Okay. Because I was going to say, I think that is the problem for a lot of American Western families specifically, is that, and this is like kind of something that's like part of the boss babe versus girl boss conversation, is the question of childcare, right? The question of, do I have a nanny, right? And should I hire a nanny? Is it ethical for me to do so? And if so, like, under what conditions, right? Like, I think that's like I think like for a lot of American families, like the reason like why they don't do like the stay at home like thing is because like a lot of them think that they could only do it if they were able to hire a nanny, or if they were able to hire some sort of like third form of childcare for them to do it.
Or a tutor.
Another thought process I had while I was listening to that is the concept of childcare, but we've moved away from our families, a lot of us. And like, my mom and dad were a very strong support network when I lived close to them, and they were there when my daughter was first born, and like I was able to take a shower by myself, and I worked a couple days a week to try to, because I was a single mom in the moment and all of those things. And my parents were a very strong. I didn't have to do daycare for my daughter until she was like 4.5. And that was like pre-K, what she had to do, right? And you want pre-K. So like even at that, I think that the idea that the families are no longer more tight-knit, community oriented and living close by, because going to Pop-Pops for a day or, hanging out with my mom or whatever the case may be is typically that's seen as an added benefit to living close. But a lot of us don't live very close to our family. So is that maybe another piece of it that we could cue in for why women have to go to work or like don't have the ability, or we have to do daycare and things like that?
I think
Anybody?
that US, it's not a really family friendly country at all. I don't think this country is family friendly. I don't think this country really supports families enough. Just like if you think about like childcare, how expensive it is, and how hard it is to be a mom in this country. Like I couldn't imagine. That's why I don't. If I were to have kids in this country, I would be like, I cannot do that.
Right.
It's tough. Even if you're like a stay-at-home mom, or even if you're like a working mom, it's hard. You come from, let's say you're like you
Are
work.
there any other moms on the panel besides me and Sarah?
Speak. Thank you.
Me.
Are there any other moms on the panel besides me and Sarah?
Please let me talk.
Hold on.
Me.
Let's say you work and you come home from work. You're tired. Then you have to come like cook, clean, help your kids with homework. That's hard. I don't know how people do it.
It is a lot of work.
I have
but
five
go ahead.
kids. I have 5 kids. So I was just saying, is there anybody besides me and Sarah who's done this on the panel? Or is it just me and Sarah?
Yeah, Kat. Kat's
I have
mommy.
Kat has kids. Okay,
Nova.
so it's totally doable. It's not that hard. It's only hard if you try to do it while you're working a full-time job, and if you're insisting on having a career. And like you were saying, Natalia, like you feel like women have to sacrifice so much and we're just sacrificing. I don't see that at all. I feel like women these days tend to be extremely selfish, very self-centered. They want everything for them. They're not thinking about their children. They're not thinking about their husband. They think, and it's just like, I want to come on here and talk about the state of things, the facts of the matter. And Natalia's interested in like my personal experience and how I feel. And this is why I don't usually do women panels, is because it's like, yeah, we all have our personal experience. We can talk about that, but we should also talk about the fact that our birth rate is staggeringly low. It's 1.6.
Why is that, Rachel? Because this country is very unfriendly to mothers.
No, it's worldwide.
It's
worldwide. It's worldwide, and I can tell you the reason. The reason, if you look at UN studies, the number one correlate to low birth rates is women's participation in higher education and career. Now, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to address this problem. But to the extent that you push women towards career and college is the extent to which they will refrain from having children. Why? Because why would you spend all of your first 18 years trying to do good in school so that you can get into a university, and then you spend 4 to 8 years in a university, you take on maybe $60,000 in college debt to get a degree. Okay, now you've got your degree. Now you have to establish your career, because you didn't just do that for 25 years to start a family. You're going to go and start your career and get established. So by the time you even think about getting married and having a kid, you're in your 30s. The average woman gets married at 31 now. And this is not just in the US, it's in every country except a handful of African countries and Israel. That's it.
Really?
So it's worldwide. The birth rates are well below replacement. Well below replacement. We are on the precipice of a birth crash. And if you think that it's bad having overpopulation, which we've never actually had, a birth rate crisis is going to mean you don't have a first world economy anymore. You don't have a supply chain anymore. People will actually starve because there won't be enough people to grow and distribute the food. So this isn't just about personal choice. We can talk about that. You guys can talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't care. I care more about the fact that the whole entire world is looking at like a possible extinction event of half of women of childbearing age deciding not to become mothers so that they can do what? Be an interior designer, have a dental practice? I don't think it's a very good trade-off.